SPLC is not the only leftist organization that's been working to shut down conservatives and other ideological opponents. There's also the Global Alliance for Responsible Media, GARM. They also oppose anyone or anything who doesn't toe the leftist party line. And while there are those like the House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan who have been shining the light on organizations like GARM, my next guest says there's a lot more that can be done and that should be done. So joining me now to discuss this is Josh Hammer, who's a senior counsel at the Article 3 Project and host of the Josh Hammer Show and America on Trial with Josh Hammer. Josh, welcome to Washington Watch. Good to have you.
Jody, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's our pleasure. Look, you've written an article on this that appeared in the Federalist, and I just talked about the SPLC with our last guest. Don't know if you were able to catch all that or not. But to start this discussion off, can you tell us about this other group, the Global Alliance for Responsible Media?
Yeah, so the Global Alliance for Responsible Media is a subgroup of a broader organization called the World Federation of Advertisers. It is essentially a shadowy, nebulous organization that exists for purposes of trying to encourage leftists to boycott, demonetize, or to basically strip any kind of clout away from people on the right. That's a very vague way of phrasing it because this organization operates in fairly vague ways. But to give you a couple of concrete examples, GARM has been involved with efforts to try to demonetize Spotify for simply having the temerity to host Joe Rogan's idiosyncratic podcast. They have gone to war against Elon Musk and tried to pull advertisers away from his X platform because they are too supportive of free speech. You know, there's actually a silver lining to the GARM story, though, Congressman, because what happened, at least with GARM, was that Elon Musk threatened to sue. He actually might have formally gotten all the paperwork with the lawyers filed already, and then the parent organization actually kicked GARM to the curb. So that particular initiative is actually sidelined for now. But there's any number of other organs of what I like to call the censorship industrial complex. You know, we saw a major high-profile Supreme Court case just this term, the Murphy versus Missouri case that involves Biden administration censorship, working hand in hand with the big tech oligarchs. You know, Mark Zuckerberg, actually, speaking of Jim Jordan, Mark Zuckerberg just wrote that letter to Jim Jordan earlier this week, where he admitted that the Biden administration strong-armed Facebook into censoring so-called dissident speech. He's saying mea culpa. It's a little too late if you ask for my opinion on that one. But, you know, the point is that there is this huge network out there, and there are various organizations such as GARM, such as a group called Acronym. Acronym is co-founded by George Soros and Reid Hoffman, the very far-left major Democratic donor who founded LinkedIn, the online media network. Acronym is involved in trying to spew leftist misinformation as well. Acronym has been closely linked to a kind of fake news organization, for lack of a better description, called Courier Newsroom. Courier Newsroom has been sprouting up all across the country, trying to essentially pretend that they are giving you real news. It has the aesthetic look of a real newspaper and a real news page. In actuality, it is really just DNC propaganda, Democratic talking points. So there's a very sophisticated network out there, and the point of my piece, Congressman, for the Federalist, was to say that Congress cannot actually just lead the charge on this. It is good that the House Judiciary Committee is on top of this. They have subpoena power. That's powerful stuff. But, you know, Republicans control more state-level attorneys general offices than they do not. And there are some state-level attorneys general, such as Ken Paxton in Texas, you know, Ashley Moody here in my state of Florida, Andrew Bailey in Missouri, you know, Brenna Byrd in Iowa. There are some very high-profile Republican AGs who are doing their job and using their own state power to try to go after these organizations. But, you know, what I was trying to do was essentially just issue a rally cry to every Republican state AG office out there. You know, try and provide some support for the Republicans in Congress. There is a lot out there trying to censor conservative speech. We need all the help that we can get to fight back.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I want to go deeper into this in the couple of minutes that we have left. This cancel culture is real. And it manifests itself, be it in debanking or in Facebook or Twitter, or whatever it may be. So many different ways. The cancel culture is real, and it's coming after conservatives. It's coming after anyone who opposes this left-wing ideology. You have a call to the Republican attorney generals, as you just referenced. Specifically, in the last couple of minutes we have, what are you encouraging them to do?
So, I mean, first of all, I mean, some of these organizations, I think, benefit at a tax level when it comes to either a federal or state level. So, you know, if there is any organization out there that is trying to suppress particular speech, you know, that should be an immediate red flag for purposes of actually losing your tax exempt status. I mean, that is ludicrous that any of these organizations could possibly benefit in any way under the tax code whatsoever. You know, more generally speaking, you know, at a barest of bare minimum, you know, issue a public release that you are calling for an investigation just to shine a spotlight. I mean, sometimes something as simple, Congressman, as just shining a spotlight on an organization that is ultimately trying to degrade the public good, undermine the common good, and tear this country apart at the seams. Something as simple as an investigation could get the attention of more investigative reporters. Ultimately, what I'm trying to do with this article is just try to make people aware of what is going on right now. Because, you know, I did overhear your conversation with the previous guest. Debanking, deplatforming, you know, these are ultimately the civil rights issues of our times. I mean, debanking, if anything, terrifies me even more than deplatforming. I am terrified as someone who is clearly right of center and contributing to the public square. I am terrified that my bank might try to cut me off tomorrow, or my retirement account might try to tell me to divest Charles Schwab from their platform, whatever. These are really terrifying times, frankly. And, you know, it's going to take some willingness on the part of Republicans to get their hands a little dirtier than they might be instinctively willing and able to do. For example, you know, in the context of deplatforming and debanking, one possible remedy would be common carrier regulation, the same way that we regulate the trains and airplanes, the same way that we regulate your cell phone companies, Verizon or AT&T. They cannot discriminate on the basis of content of your viewpoint. So I think basically that Chase and Bank of America should not be able to discriminate on the basis of their customers' viewpoint as well. That would be just one example there.
Excellent suggestion. Josh Hammer of Article 3 Project. Great conversation. Thank you so much for joining us today on Washington Watch and for breaking all this down for us. I think that your article has made some big waves, and we want to help every way we can as well. Thanks for joining us on Washington Watch.
Thanks so much.